Well, hello there, and welcome to my arty corner of the internet, my little arty corner. There are many millions of little arty corners, I'm sure, but this is mine, and I may not be proud of it yet, but I'm contented with it, perhaps. It's Wednesday, it's the 8th of December, and the first thing I'm going to say is thank you, everybody who's new to subscribing to me, who's been subscribing to me for a long time. To those who are new visitors, thank you. You are most welcome. To returning visitors, you are very welcome once again. And for all the lovely comments, thank you so much. The likes are very much appreciated. It tells me when I'm on the right track, perhaps, for things that people may like to see a bit more than others. The last video I released was a bit different. It was a how-to colour backgrounds. And I know it wouldn't appeal to very many people, but I know it would appeal to some. So I felt it was something you need to do. It's a common technique that's known about in crafty circles, card makers and things like that, mixed media, but not so much with this, I think. So I've added something new to the Zentangle-y mindful drawing world, I suppose. And I've coloured pages in sketchbooks, well, ever since I started doing art 20 odd years ago now, because white pages are so boring. Bit of colour brings some life and some cheer into the page, some interest as well. So just a quick catch up, because yesterday I didn't do a video because I was it was one of those days where lots of unexpected things happened and it just got in the way. I focused on getting templates for adorable dogs done. So I'm about halfway through now. I got 2 done yesterday. I kid you not. It takes so long, but it's fine. I enjoy the process, so that's okay. And that's what I'll be focusing on after this. So just a quick catch up, because I have done some things to these trees. Firstly, I've got some sparkle and shine on. Hopefully I'll get the light there. These are gold dots with a pen touch. The pen touches are from Sakura. They are solvent based. They dry quite quickly, but the gold they lay down, or the metallic they lay down, is very opaque, it's very rich, and it's also very shiny. So, but you can't get a tiny little dots like you can with the jelly rolls, as long as you don't press too hard. Oh, perhaps too hard, so you only get a tiny amount of ink out. But the other thing I've done, as you might notice, these are coloured in, and with these I've added little blobs at the end that are like berries or baubles if you want, whatever. And with all of these, not the bits at the bottom, all of these trees, I've intensified the colour with coloured pencils. Now, I've used a mixture of coloured pencils. I've used Derwent Artists because I wanted to see whether I like those or not. I don't, they're too hard. And when you're blending them together, they do a weird thing where bits peel off. Not happy about that. Maybe the paper, maybe what was underneath it in terms of whatever I used to colour these with, because I can't remember now. The other thing I used were the Derwent Colour Soft, which I love. But I just wanted to see what would happen. And I quite like the difference. I've also added some colour to a couple of these. You know, these ones here, this one. And these I actually added with Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pens, because again, I wanted to see what would happen and how things would work. The other side is this one. I have done some bits here, not much. But I actually added coloured pencils to intensify this colour and to bring the colour out. I mean, I've worked on this one so much, it's ridiculous, so it just doesn't look right, but it is what it is. This one, though, I'm really quite pleased with, because I did use, definitely was Derwent Colour Soft on here, and this just brought out this lovely golden sheen. I'm so chuffed, and the berry as well. I did add some purple to this one and this one as well, just to see, because sometimes, I know from past experience, and I forget this, is that if I use watercolours, I just never seem to be able to get that intensity of colour or the contrast. This is why I get so frustrated with them. I know there are ways of doing it, but I just can't seem to get my head around it. It just doesn't seem to want to work with me. So putting the background down, base colour down, and then using coloured pencils on top to bring out the shadow and highlight, along with graphite. There's still the graphite under here and it's still showing through. Is a good way for me to do things. This is another one, and again, you can see I've added colour. I've even added colour to this one as well. Coloured pencils, went Colour Soft, have made such a big difference to this one and to these, and also to these. Not so much, but you know, I started with this one and then I progressively got bolder as I went along. And this one is really lovely. Those blobby bits really do look blobby and rich now, as they should. The as much as I love the Ecoline paints, they were insipid on here. I didn't add enough pigments, and there's a limit to how much wet you can add to paper like the Imagine, because it is not watercolour paper. My gravity defying trees as well definitely went Colour Soft. This one though, I added colour with Mission Gold watercolours, and that worked nicely because of the background patterns. So I think it depends. A lot of it will depend on what you've done to the design. This one still looks really dusty and it just doesn't look right. So the other side are these trees, and again there's that addition of just increase the exposure a bit because it's looking a bit dark. It's a bit better, not much but a bit. I used the right on this side. I didn't use Colour Soft. I did on a couple of these, but I've since worked over them. But I used the Pit Artist pens, and again I use the Pen Touch for those highlights and dots of gold in some areas, because I really felt these needed to be gold. Came round, and that really does help bring them to life. But this one is still really quite pale. On the top bits I did put some black lines in, and I think that's what's needed down here and here. But these are things I can experiment with at a later date. And I also have all this empty space here to work with, and I haven't decided what I'm going to do there. So I just thought I'd catch you up on these. The other thing is it's Wednesday, and we all know what Wednesday means in Angela's world. Find your glasses so you can see what you're doing is the first job. Second job, now I've got a mug mocha. It's an insulated mug, so it stays hot for a long time, because it is, good gosh, it's 7:45 in the morning and it's still dark out. It is beginning to lighten up. I can see the other side of the street now, but dear goodness. So anyway, it's Wednesday, so it's time for Template Wednesday. Well, drawing this week's colouring template. And I've got a piece of dot grid paper here because I want to use some lines here. And I'm using a Tombow Fudenosuke pen. The nib is flexible, slightly flexible, because this is the so-called hard variety. And I can tell that because the barrel is a very dark blue. The soft one is black, but it can be hard to tell the difference between them unless you've got really bright lights. But it's that green block there I always look for. On the soft ones, it's blue, pale blue. So, and as I tend to only pull these ones out. And I thought this week what I would do is, I'm just moving this around so you can see, hopefully, not off the edge of my desk so I don't bend the paper too much. Hopefully my hand will get in the way. Hey, sheesh. But what I want to do is I'm going to draw some picture frames. And I'm not too fussy whether these are perfect straight lines, because it's not important really. The important thing is that the drawing is being done, I suppose. Okay, how am I going to do this? Yeah, so from the centre up, down, around, like that. Give me a mo, Let me just adjust my camera a bit, because I reckon that with a different angle you'll see more of what I'm doing. Is that better? It's a bit better. So roughly from the same distance from the end, up, down, and then spiral around. I'm not too worried whether these are exactly the same on each side, but I'm going to put a triple arch across there because this is the easiest way for me to do that. And then I can pop another bit of detail there just to break that space up a bit. And I'm going to do the same on the bottom. So about here, up, down, spiral around, up, down, spiral around. 3-petaled arch if you like. This, oh, and I know what I've forgotten to do. Oops. I will. Oh. Working on A4 is such a pain nowadays. I'm just connecting the inside of the spiral to the arch, so there's a space there. And that gives quite a nice top and bottom to this picture frame. It might help if I move my notebook elsewhere. Let's have a look. As I bang and crash, I do apologise. My only excuse is I'm a klutz. So that's quite nice as it is. I am going to draw another border inside. Like this. And I am going to pop. This is my favourite way of splitting up a picture frame because they're quite small, quite narrow areas here, and sometimes to fit a tangle pattern in for people to colour in, it can be a bit challenging, but that's quite nice. But I know the colourists in my group seem to love my challenges of tiny areas, so I'm splitting this one, the longer sides, into 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, and the top and bottom I'll split into 3. So it's possible to do a checkerboard pattern, especially if, shall I divide them that way? Yeah, I will, because they may not be square, but there's a possibility of colouring them in black and white. And it's a big enough space. I think if I was to make these into squares, they'd perhaps be a little teeny tiny and a little bit fiddly. Okay, so there's that. And inside this, I just want another thin border. Keeping in mind that somebody's got to get a pen or a pencil in there, or a paintbrush. So, like this. And then I thought it would be quite nice today to do wintry kind of things. So I think a bough of berries would be quite nice in here. I've got to think about this, haven't I? So I do want a stem. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw the berries down the side. And I'm not going to do them in a straight line. I'm going to zigzag them just for a bit of interest. And perhaps on this side I'll even tuck a couple behind each other, just for fun. And they don't have to have the same number on each side. I'm not going to try and put little stems in these that you could colour in, because that would be getting stupidly small. But there's plenty of background to colour in. Now I've got a space here and one here that are quite large. So I think what I'm going to do in one of them is just pop a heart, because I think it's quite cute to do something like that. Okay, I'm going to carry on. I said I was going to carry on down the column, but what I'm going to do with this today perhaps is intersperse picture frames with perhaps patterns. So I'm going to do a grid here of pattern, hopefully. Do you know, I didn't check to see whether this was an even number of squares, and it actually, dots I meant, it actually works out. Phewy. And I am going to draw a border around this. And I'm going to deliberately make it look like it's not supposed to be exactly perfect with these little breaks and blips. Because why not, like torn paper. And then for this one, okay, how am I going to do this, Angela? I was thinking about doing these lines. Actually, that could be fun because that would make a bit more sense perhaps. So zigzags, but I've not done. I'm going to draw a triangle on either side, but I'm curving the lines inwards just a little bit. And there is method in my madness because I love this, because it is like stylized holly, very simplified holly leaves. And holly leaves are incredibly spiky, and they can have, it depends on the size of the leaf and also the particular genus of tree. Is it genus? There are lots of different kinds of holly trees. I think it's genus, I could be wrong. So that's actually quite cute. Now then, where can I put berries? I think I'm going to put them in the largest spaces, which is at the ends of the points. So that means that, I was going to say, we're not going to get a very even spread of these, but actually there is going to be a pattern of berries, which is interesting. Normally I do this in a square of, say, 4 by 4, and instead of having in each column them going the same direction, I'd zigzag them in each direction, if that makes sense. So, but this is an odd number. I thought, oh, let's do it this way and see what happens. And actually it's quite nice. It's a different way of approaching it, just some small different change, and it creates something like this. Okay, so talking of leaves and berries and so on, how about a branch of should I do a branch of leaves here? Shall I do something else? I know what I'm going to do here. Okay. So it's like a huge letter J on its side, but I am going to cap that end off. I'm going to do it that way, and then I am going to add some stripes. For a candy cane, and it's actually gone out beyond the edge that I created with this, and that's fine. I can live with that. There's a gap here, so what can I pop there? I'm looking to see if a bough of something would fit in there, and they wouldn't really. So I think this could be a daft idea. Let's just pop in a lollipop. So, you know, one of those sugary candy sweets that you lick. I don't know if they're called lollipops in other countries, but they are here. So that's quite nice. So that breaks this up a bit. Okay. I said I was going to draw loads of pictures, but maybe I won't, because here I'm going to draw some mittens. It's here in the Northern Hemisphere, it is definitely getting decidedly chilly. At times. At the moment, we've got really incredibly high winds. There's been a really intense storm that has battered much of the UK. I had hail last night and thunder and lightning and wild winds and sudden downpours of rain through the day. I think the winds are forecast to carry on through most of today. But I'm not entirely sure. And I'm going to pop a heart in here. In fact, I may put a couple of hearts in. I'm beginning to have doubts about what I'm doing here. I really am. Because I get like that. I enjoy these kinds of templates. I think they're a lot of fun to colour and to draw. There's so many little bits and bobs in here. But there's also the wonder of how it's going to fit together. And part of me is wishing I'd done something where these were sticking out of a pile of spirals and so on, but I'm sure I can make a go of such things at some point. Okay, so this is going to be one of these Christmas bauble things, because I can. Christmas tree or tree baubles. I don't think you'd necessarily have to have them at Christmas. I think I'd rather like to have such things all year round to catch the light and sparkle, if I decided to have them, which I don't. There is no space in my house for a tree or such. My house is quite tiny and full of stuff, like art stuff. But there's only me living here, so I get to choose what I do, which is lovely. Okay, I'm thinking about patterns here, and I think I might do some circles. Which could be whatever you want them to be, but polka dots are quite fun. There we go. And then at the top and the bottom, I'm just going to split these areas up just a little, just to give some extra space for things to be coloured in. Now then, this is where I can get some flourishes, I think. Again, I'm not too worried if it's not perfectly symmetrical, that's fine by me. Pop that kind of shape in. Oops. As I go off the screen again. And worse when it is using larger pieces of paper, I'm so sorry. I get so engrossed in what I'm doing, I forget. Okay, and then at the top here, I think there has to be a little heart nestled in there, because I can. little bit of detail on these, I think. A nice little bit of decoration there. And perhaps here, just here, tiny little picture. And in here, I think I may pop. I've got lots of hearts, but not many stars. I'm a big fan of stars, so there's a star just there. Okie dokes. So next thing, what do I do next? Let's do another picture frame, but I think I might do one that's a bit bigger. I will move it where you can see it, hopefully. Yep, it's on the side. I am drawing on the side, essentially because I can. And at the top here, I may very well, if I can work out where the centre of this is, I think this is the centre. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. No, hang on. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the centre. So I'm going to pop that. Put a little shelly shape there. I'm not going to be able to do anything at the bottom, so I am going to just create a border around it. Like so. And one inside, which I will make just a little bit bigger. And then in here, I'm going to put a lovely big mug with a handle. Very stylized, but it'll do. And I'll put the top on it, quite straight. Again, it's very stylized, it's not meant to be real. And I think this could be hot chocolate with a swirl of whipped cream. And of course, I haven't left enough headspace for it. Put a little thin border there, one here. I think we could do with a couple of biscuits here, cookies, you'd call them in America. Pop some chocolate chips or such in them. Got very neat and orderly edges, which is fine by me. I'm going to pop a couple of stripes on the handle. And I've got this area here to deal with, haven't I? So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a tiny little hexagon. And I am also going to draw, just to help me, a pencil circle. A little circle on the end of each of those points of the hexagon, and then make a little leaf shape, I suppose, pointing off. Again, a little circle on the outside. And then I can pop some little bits here. These are tiny areas, so I'm not going to add any more detail than this. But we've got a mug with a snowflake. And I may just pop it's my favourite little bursty things on there. Just to fill some gaps in, so I think that works quite nicely. I'm so tempted to put a lovely big heart there. There's going to be lots of hearts in this one, for which I make absolutely no apologies whatsoever to anybody. And on this side, I'm going to put something that could be chocolate or a wafer of some kind. But there we are, it's a delicious hot drink, just fit for a cool day. What is it? It's spelled H-U-G-G-E, and I can't remember how you pronounce it. Is it Hugay? Huggy? Hugay? Hygay? It's that Scandinavian idea of coziness, isn't it? Of comfort. Things that are comforting and making your surroundings so. And talking of comforting surroundings, I think down here I'm going to do this. I'm going to draw. I'm going to do this in pencil because I want to make sure I get things correct here. And actually I will remove the pencil lines when all's finished and done. Just gives me that idea of where I want to put things, and I will just attach this in places. And before I draw the candle inside, I'm going to actually I'm going to change my mind on the top a bit here. There is method here, honest, you'll see. So the pencil lines are just that guide for me to know where I want to draw the frame, and also the panes in the lantern. The last thing I'll draw is the candle behind the lantern. And this just helps me draw the panes, the window panes in the lantern where the, oh my gosh, my mind is thinking this is beginning to look like a TARDIS from Doctor Who. Just a bit, not much really. Put the ring on the top that you could hang it with, and then I am going to pop a line there. In fact, I think I'll put 2 because 2 feels right, and then I'm going to create a scallop there. Next thing is the candle, and I may just put a pair in. I'm not sure you can actually do this. But as it's only a drawing, I guess it's not that important, is it? So a couple of candles behind here. And I may very well just put some crosses or V shapes in, just to separate the sections between the panes, so that there's an option there for more colouring to be done, and I may, do I want to do the same here? I may just put fine lines in there just to separate that as well. So that's quite nice. Okie dokes. But of course, at the bottom of this, underneath this, what else can I pop? We've got mittens, so we need a lovely woolly hat as well, don't we? With a fluffy, fuzzy, furry base to it. So there we are, and perhaps another one. Besides, that has a tattier bottom, perhaps a more conical shape to it. Yeah, I'm making use of those fuzzy little ball things that I like so much. Let's pop that there. And then perhaps for this one, we can have a different kind of stripe. I'm thinking I quite fancy I might. Let me start again and see if I can get my words straight. I quite fancy doing Halloween colours for this, because that's me, isn't it? Okay, and here I think a scattering of candies would be quite nice. So little lines with little dots on, just to suggest that there's a fold there. And then this needs to be patterned, so I am going to do it in a diagonal fashion. Because diagonals are really good fun. And then I think I may just pop one next door, because a row of them would be quite fun. Perhaps with different patterns on. So this one can have horizontal lines, and then another one here. Vertical lines would look a bit strange, but I think this one may work well with squares. So there's a trio of them here, and I'm just going to add another couple of hearts here, because that feels like the right thing to do, is to carry on that. And then I've got space here for something just here. So what could I put? Oh, I don't know. A little sprig. Because there's going to be all kinds of things. Decorating. Just adding little bits in. There we go. So if I just adjust the camera a little bit, excuse me, you're going to get perhaps a little bit on the dizzy side. Let's have a look and see. Mostly There we go. Sorry, finger in the way. This is the problem with working on A4, is it's hard for you to see it all. But I didn't zoom in, did I? No. This is A4 from top. There's a little bit under here. If I put it that way, you can see better. There we go. So papers from top here to the bottom, just off the screen. So I'm about halfway through. So there's lots of spaces to put little bits and bobs in. And no doubt I'll find a way. I'll have other pictures in there and other items and so on. Perhaps not entirely picture frames, but perhaps a collection of all kinds of things that just remind me of winter. And I'm going to say winter because it's not necessarily any particular holiday. It's just that wintry feel. And we are heading towards winter solstice. It's just a couple of weeks away, the 21st of December. And scientifically, that marks the point where the sun astronomically enters the constellation of Capricorn. And but it's also the astronomical start of winter. It's how the seasons are split up, certainly in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, of course, it's the opposite season, so it's summer. So it'd be the first day of summer down there. Summer solstice for the southern half of the world. So there we are, and I'll carry on with this later on today, and tomorrow everybody will get to see the full version. So for now, I'm going to say thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this. It may not be sort of tangly pattern, although there is definitely one there. That can be counted. Other bits and bobs can be. But it's just a nice way to put lots of things together and to practice drawing and to create a page full of interest, something a bit different this week. We had a lot of mandalas last month, so I'm trying to break things up a little bit, and things for me that perhaps won't take quite so much time as other forms, because I'm under pressure to get artwork done. So look after yourselves. Keep warm if you're in the northern hemisphere. Keep cool if you're in the southern. And whatever else, look after yourselves and please find time to be creative. Take care now. Bye-bye. Bye.